everybody. So I got about 5 or 6. I've been trying to lay low because being in the Senate subcommittee last week, fighting for education transparency, which would involve parental rights, and that they don't exist literally to these people. And I go back on Thursday, so because to get to the education committee in the Senate, we have to get through the subcommittee. So how the House has it opposite, where you get to comment during the sub-ed, but then tomorrow they go for Winsome for this school choice that it's going to blow y'all away when I show y'all what the truth about it really is. But you know, first in her, I don't know for those of you that saw one of her press releases, where she was so shocked that for the first time our children are below national standards. Ooh, well, I mean, so I had a really big problem because I was part of this webinar here, and well, Winsome, you know, you need to either tell your people to write better or figure out your lives.
This is the cover. Don't know if you can see.
So this is what I call the dishonesty gap report, where I've pulled the mapping that I've done in front of the school board, in front of the Board of Education. And so she's holding up, this is what I talk about all the time. This is their commitment to Virginia, the honesty gap, as they call it. If you go to the appendices, you'll find the truth in all of the hodgepodge junkinese that they've created in that. So when people say, well, how are we 50th? When I pull up the NAEP scores, it says that we're whatever. Well, Winsome will tell you right here.
That May 2022. And it really wants to know, where are we? Where are we really? Because you have to know where you are in order to know how to proceed, how to move forward, how to fix, and guys, if there's anything to be fixed. But we know that there are things that need to be fixed. So I'm looking at this report very quickly, going to go through it. And these are pre-COVID numbers.
Yeah, these are pre-COVID, guys. These are the 2019 scores. We were 50th. We have been basic. We are now below basic, the only state below basic, okay? We have been basic. I have the report from 2013. We were basic. Now then, there was a whole group of states basic, okay? In 2019, she doesn't mention this, we are the only state, not only below basic.
Listen to this. Our SOL scores have been telling us that in Virginia, by the time our children reach fourth grade, it says that 25% of them have failed the fourth grade when it comes to their reading proficiency. 25%. Well, do you know what the report found? Those numbers are, you know, I almost want to call it.
I can't listen to her anymore. She goes on to say it's actually 61% of fourth graders. 61% in 2019 in fourth grade reading were not proficient. 61%. So I call it the dishonesty gap. And I've done, you can go through this channel, I've done show after show showing y'all. The part that he leaves out is this wonderful thing called the History of Virginia Standards of Learning, where they admit we've had Common Core, because we will align our standards to Common Core to get the money under ESSA. Right there. Common Core. You align with it, Common Core. So, but grade level competency to college and career readiness stopped in 2009. We then became the only state below basic by 2019. She leaves that out. Why? Youngkin can't exist without workforce education. So I wanted to quickly, because again, I'm in my pajamas, show you guys the problem. And the fact, there's so many problems with this legislation. And I missed my opportunity to go and light them up. And I was going to go in the morning, but so you got Davis, who, by the way, is not running again. He's going to work for Youngkin. And then you've got, so he doesn't give a flying fig. He's going to get no blowback. He can't get not elected when this fails. So I got like 8 pieces, like Virginian for Prosperity, like, of course, the VEOA, like Middle Resolution, all these, I mean, of course, Heritage. Guys, all these places that sound, these are the places to go. No. So all these places, people, Batten, not shocked. Cordoza, Weber, Tim Shady, not a bullet. Ballard. Brewer, who wants to get DNA and test everybody who goes to jail. No. Durant, not shocked. Buddy Fowler. Freitas, I'm confused because he homeschools his kids, as does John McGuire. Really shocked. And these are guys, these are all Freitas, Larock. These are all people that are also on my transparency and education that got, it is a much more middle of the road, the new approach that Youngkin and Tim Shady talk about, that conservative Republicans are going to take. We're going to start meeting them in the middle. No, sorry, we're not. Wyatt, totally shocked. So it comes to the matter of, again, do these people have any clue what they're talking about? Because if we go back and start to look. So the assumption first, let's jump to the major problem. Qualified student. So I've been fighting in the front lines, literally, for the entire state. But because it became so apparent to me last year that my daughters were not safe because Glenn Youngkin had not done anything that he promised to do, that my daughters, their minds and their bodies were not safe in public schools, we had to make the sacrifice. And I say sacrifice because it's literally paying pennies to educate our children. So look, under this, a qualified student is eligible to enroll if they have been in public education for at least one semester immediately preceding the semester or term for which the student initially applies for the savings account, or starting kindergarten, or is attending first grade for the first time. So yes, I heard that they had private school kids come to speak at their big thing like 3 weeks ago, their big rally they had down there. Private school kids and the parents that were asked to come speak had no idea they would not be eligible for this. So my children, as I sit here trying to save a broken system, because guys, think about the homeschool kids. You're not eligible. My private school, because what was the assumption that we can afford it? The thousands of kids in Chesterfield alone whose parents pulled them out because as soon as transgender went through, nope, not eligible. You have to put your kids back in to be abused, and who God knows what else happened for a semester. What is that, 9 weeks? I don't know. One semester. Immediately preceding the semester or term. So you would have to put them in, let them be there, and then apply. So we're talking like, who knows, a year and a half your kid has to be in before you can even apply. So just anybody that someone asked me regarding her press release, well, where does it state private kids don't apply? It doesn't. You have to read legislation, lis.virginia.gov. Go poke around in there. So just to be really clear, and then I want to also point out, Marie March has got a similar one in. Similar because it's a similar approach. But look at her eligible student. A resident of the Commonwealth who is eligible to enroll in public school. Public or elementary school. There's no stipulations. And so you have to start thinking to yourself, why? Why is this many co-patrons that did they not read it? Okay, qualified student, let's just be clear. If you're homeschooling, school choice, you don't count. If you don't get any money, and they still take your tax dollars, okay, but what, this is the blowout part. What is administrative expense? Okay, which is what your child would get. A dollar amount that does not exceed 5%. Keep that in mind. 5% of a qualified student's applicable standards of quality per pupil state funding. Now, Senator Reeves, and he was like, because of course, right in the Senate, you couldn't even mention the word saving, education, and maybe Locke and Ghazala Hashmi were like, nope, couldn't even get like a word in. Nope. and before the VEA, the VSBA, and all them lined up. The most hilarious thing was the VEA and the VSBA stating that these children would not have the same standards as public education because we're 50th in the nation and have been forever. That's when I giggled. I was like, I'm out of here. I'm out of here because I thought I was going to lose my head last week. So you have to understand. So do people not know 5% of the per pupil state funding? So Bryce Reeves and I were talking, and he was like, he asked them, what is the money? Well, you made the right friend. So this would include the per pupil share of state sales tax funding and basic aid, and any state per pupil share of. Okay, so anyway, 5% of state funding you'll get. 5%. I don't see per pupil share of state sales tax. So even if we were, so I had to take screenshots. Okay, so people like me, I pulled the census report from 2019 and and I've shown this before, but because I think Excel got removed somehow, I had to take screenshots to show you guys. So I'm sorry if they're fuzzy. I'll tell you what the number said. So this is what nerds like me do when questions like, what is per pupil funding? Because guys, if you weren't aware of this, we're one of the only states that our money goes through our board of supervisors before it goes to our school boards. So then think about how it filters and then what actually ends up with the child. So what's this? So this what is this now? So what you do is you take the Census Bureau median household income, the Census Bureau's poverty rate, the Virginia Composite Index ability to pay, so parents' ability to pay. Then you get the local dollars. So that would be your local tax money going to your child. So Charlottesville has 13,000 local dollars going per child. Chesterfield is the anomaly in this. And unfortunately, because I took this at night, not during the day, everything that's supposed to be black is white. So I will tell you, so when they talk about state dollars per pupil, no more than 5%. So people want to say, how much money really is that? Well, let's say 5% of, I don't know, let's say Campbell, because you can't see it. And again, I will post these numbers for you guys to see. So because my Campbell people, Rochages, that would mean that you would get 5% of $6,300. Okay? 5%. Yes, Patty, thank you. And they is like, when I say you mess with the wrong mom, I mean it for seriously. And so just real quick, that does not exceed 5% of a qualified student's applicable standards of quality per pupil state funding. Now, these are 2019 numbers, but I'm guessing that the way the numbers are figured out on ability to pay, poverty rate, property tax, it does, because, and then keep in mind, you've pulled your child out to get pennies on the dollar, because it's costing me $10,000 per child to go to a well-vetted Christian school that I still am up their butt all day long about certain things that I don't even want them teaching my child through the eyes of God, because that's me. My kid's going to be on a Chromebook, you're getting all the opt-outs. That's just the way it is. You're on a Chromebook, they're collecting data somewhere. There's no free passes, guys. I mean, education, and my eyes are wide open all the time. So including the per pupil share of state sales tax funding and basic aid, and any state per pupil share of special education funding. The special ed kids, they don't even acknowledge that they get money. But so this is the most alarming. It doesn't say anything about, you don't get any of your local money. Let's look at local dollars. So local dollars. Let's go, I live in Chesterfield. So, so our numbers, look, our total for Chesterfield, this is what makes no sense to me. Our total, we have the lowest per pupil with an 82,000 household income. Total Local dollars. What the hell are our taxes going to? Total is 10,000. That would be, so you would, even if you got 5% of the total, and that's with federal dollars. Because guys, if you didn't know this, federal and state funding is done on this thing called maintenance of equity, based on the amount of Title I schools and Title I children you have in your division. So, yeah, so 5%. So in Chesterfield County, if this law passes, again, it's in yellow, sorry. I didn't realize, let's see. We would be getting 5% of $5,900. 5%. 5. What can you pay for with 5%? And again, even if it was 5% of the whole thing, what the hell are you going to do with $500? Read it. Read the document. Okay, this is not school choice. And where this gets to be even more egregious is, and I will go to bat for the poor, like the non-affluent. As you think about state funding, so and again, none of this makes any sense. So like, come on, stop it. What are you doing? I didn't even want that. Okay. So, let's look at state dollars. So Surrey, apparently, their composite index, they have wonky, so Surrey, this is their total, and these aren't typos, guys. So their local dollars, if you pulled them, they would get 5% of the state money. But guys, you're going to take pennies on the dollar, and your school division is not going to lose this money. Nowhere in this legislation does it say state and federal dollars will stop. Because to pay you this portion, if you were to be dumb enough to vote for this, to pay you this portion, they would still have to be receiving that money. So where does this money go that yours not going to your child? Because it doesn't say anything about you're still going to be paying for this. Okay? So your child is going to be getting this. You're going to be getting 5% of this. 5% of state and local, or of state money. I couldn't find anywhere in there mention of local dollars. So all your local dollars here, whether it's 16,000 in Surrey or 4,000 in Waynesboro or 5,000 in Virginia Beach, that money is still going to the school system. Nowhere in the document does it say you will know your tax dollars will no longer be. They're going to give you pennies. Pennies. This is why when I say school choice is not something that you rush in to. And someone had made a comment that Glenn Davis said, well, it's a working document. No, it's not. It's a law. And if you fall for the fact that it's a working document, and it's, because guys, once this is in, the school system will fall apart. This is not choice. Keep in mind, it does not homeschool kids. People like me who had to pull my children to keep them safe. Why? Because what I voted for and was promised did not get delivered. Let's be clear about that. And that video I showed you in the beginning of her, they cut off. That's why it's so short. She got so flabbergasted with the questions. I was part of it. Somebody asked about, will ESEA be possible this session? And she said, absolutely not with this Senate. And so when I first saw that she was doing school choice, because I had already talked to Freitas, I'd already talked to Marie March and told them what Winsome had said. And then I'm like, everything is suspect. If things don't add up, there's something very wrong with them. So read the legislation, guys, because it first, and then ask the legislators who homeschool their children, why are you voting for this? Did you read it? You know, because, and then we go back to, you know, Delegate March, who in this day, when you see a bill like that swamped with co-patrons, and then you see one that's not, hold on, what is it? Patty says, I bet this is the tactic in all states that are proposing this. They are hoping no one will read that it is a complete lie. Absolutely. And because I've worked nationally And that's how I learned all this stuff with all the wonderful men and women in my different states: Utah, North Carolina, Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, California. You know, I started to look, and that's how I learned all this stuff that I knew. Is I said, well, if it's going on there, it's got to be going on here. And so that's why we're late to the game, guys. So, and so under her, let's see. The account, which, let's see. She doesn't have, hold on, with her definition. Okay, so hers is the amount each student should get shall be equal to the average amount spent on public school students by the state and local school division. State and local school division. There's no 5% here. There's no 5% here. And it includes local money. So let's pull up a different division. So Marie March, local and state, and there's no 5%. So let's pick a different. I don't know. Anybody here want to shout out where they are if they're watching? Let's look at King William. So that would mean King William would get their local dollars. Because guys, look at federal. Federal money, what we give away for taking federal funds, about $1,000 per pupil. So that would be Chesterfield has 63,000, and we give away what? So Marie March's would they would get their local money, which means that your taxes that you pay for your child would follow you. There's no 5% on state dollars. It's all state dollars. So your child would get $10,000, which means you could pay to send them to a different school. You could pay to send them to private school under Marie March's. And yet, with all the propaganda, that's the problem with the establishment and the Uniparty guys, is that people like Marie March and, that are not liked, that are not supported, that have the crap blown out of the water, is that they're not the problem. The problem is the people writing the problem is our lieutenant governor. That Winsome Sears, I'm sorry guys, but has been on the fence for a long time about whether she was good or bad or part of the trio that we got lied about. And I'm sorry guys, but this is a deal sealer for me, that she has proudly, and I mean propagandized this legislation. I don't know how many different companies, because that's what these nonprofits that take funding to become relevant have become. I got 5 today from 5 different places. One tried to post them on Virginians for Children's First Facebook, and when I approved it, me said, I don't trust Winsome Sears. You know, everybody kept telling me, because they call me, what do they call an Esther? You know, I'm not fresh up on my Bible stuff, but I've been called that. You know, they also refer to her as an Esther, and how. But I'm sorry that you don't get sandwiched in between two failing. You're not part of that red wave, and have been doing this as long as you have, 375 days. You know, what happened to day 1? And then put this out. And then have her, and I don't know if you saw the press release, where she said, for the first time ever, Virginia is below the national. I'm like, I got a video of you stating it. I got 85 documents here. I got a report. Glenn Youngkin ran on We Were 50th in the Nation. If you go back on his Facebook watch, type in any of the GOTV, like the bus rallies, same speech every time. We were all just too like, spirit this guy, let's listen to AC/DC, Glenn Youngkin's gonna save our souls. Like, I missed it the first 18 rallies I went to, and then finally the last week I was like, damn, are we really? But that's the difference. I mean, I've done 8 shows on that, literally. Yes, we are, because our standards have dropped so low that it looks like we're excelling. Because what did she say in the beginning here? 25%. But when they actually every 2 years they equate all of the standards to make them all the same level in all 50 states. And once they do that, we become 50th. We become, basic is horrible. Proficient is not even anything to reach for. But we have been the only state below basic. We've been basic for 10 years or more. Since 2017, we have been below basic. That would be like, the national standard would be like 240, and we're at like 210. So you can add 1 plus 1 and have it equal a liar. And is it what you say and what you do tells you whether they can be trusted or not. I question actions, I question words, but I never question, shame on you once, shame on me ever believing you again. And here we are at 370 some odd days after day 1 was promised, and we're all still waiting for somebody to save our kids. And I can promise you this, and I wish I mean, if there's no commenting, all I could do is go and sit down and say, constitutional conservative mother against this bill. I'm not going to do that because I got to be down there all day on Thursday. But write your delegates: Davis, Batten, Cordoza, Weber, Anderson, Tim Shady, go figure, Avoli, Ballard, Brewer, Byron, Durant, shocker, Fowler, Freitas, Greenlaw. I mean, some of these names, like, it hurts my heart when I see them up there. Larock, McGuire, Scott PA, Tata, Walker, Wiley, and Wyatt. Okay, guys. I like a lot of those people. So the next question will be, did you read this legislation? And remember what administrative expense, not exceed 5%. And then remember what a qualified student. The rest of it, you could probably dissect and find about 18. They will probably in here literally tell you, oh, but what we really mean is, are things like nothing in this article shall construe. Like, is that what you'll, and those two are enough for me to be like, hell no. Hell no. 5% of state funding only? What in the hell? And because people don't know what the numbers are. That would be like 5% of, like, we'll say an average of $6,000 for your child is what you're going to get with this. While the state and your school division still continues to get your local tax dollars, the rest of the 95% that they give for state, and the federal dollars, you get 5%. Bravo, Republican Party. Way to do it. This is why when I walk into the underside of the Capitol, like I did on Friday, I get looks like, being hated by both parties, I don't care. I don't. I mean, it's not anything I'm proud of. I speak truth. And I'm equal, and it's like last week, I'm equally as disgusted with both parties at this point. You know, the VEA acknowledging, well, that they know that each child is getting different instruction on their Chromebook for the 4th Industrial Revolution, because we had this conversation. They know. I was like, you're aware of this, and this isn't a problem as teachers? This isn't completely dystopian to you. So, and that's a different day. But I just wanted to, because at 8 o'clock in the morning, no commenting though, they've sent out the alarm for everybody to come support this bill. Just keep in mind, no homeschoolers, no private schoolers, because what is the assumption that private school parents can afford to be there or want to be there? No. Can't. Don't want. Tried all last year. Worked my butt off to elect a governor to save us, to save me from having to do that. Yet here I am. But my girls are safe. And we have no money, and we're never going to have money the rest of our lives. But my kids are safe. And then keep in mind, so we've got those two big problems right there. And then you got 5%. How much money? How much money is going? 5%. And then think of Marie March. Any child eligible to go to public school, or second, any child, and a complete total of their state funding and their local. So your tax dollars would actually follow your child. Not state money. Your tax dollars. Because under this swamp right here, your local dollars would not go to your child. Local dollars do not apply. So your tax money is still going to a public school that you pulled your kid out of because it's destroying you. I don't know why it's doing this right now. Oh, there we go. So let's pull up a different one. And then I'll go. So just, keep in mind that, yes, this is a census report that I did. So like Richmond City, they have a very low poverty rate, or they have a very high poverty rate. Those kids would get 5% of 5,400 under SEARS and Davis. Under Marie March's, they would get 100% of their state, 100% of their local, coming out of your pocket, the local. Under SEARS and theirs, all this money still goes to the division, your tax money, and you get a tiny little take your little pittance, go buy a book. That's what this comes down to. And so I am all for, and I said this before, is that we have to start failing. They want me to pander on this education transparency, which would be acknowledging that parental rights and the law and the Constitution don't exist, and I will not do it. To simply pass legislation. I don't need a law to acknowledge my rights as a parent regarding education transparency. I will not rewrite it, because that's acknowledging I don't have these rights. To get a piece of legislation passed, no. We'll keep fighting and we'll bring it back next year. But it's things like this that make my head explode. It made my head explode when I read it, but then when I saw all the patrons, the co-patrons, that I respect, it makes you really go, who's a patriot and who's not? Who is part of the swamp that people say is the greatest person ever? It makes you question a lot of things. And I've worked with a lot of those people that I now question. I thought that they were wonderful people. So they'll get the opportunity. It's like if your legislator is still talking about 21st century skills and college and career readiness, and you haven't asked them, what in the hell? Do you even know what that means? You need to. Because a lot of them have primaries coming up in April. And my thing is that somebody else who might not be as we want them to be, versus somebody who has proven that they're going to vote for this kind of stuff, I'm kind of willing to take a try on somebody who, because when it comes down to it, when you're voting and co-patroning for this kind of stuff, they're not dumb, guys. The assumption that they didn't read the legislation, well, if they did, then they don't belong in the General Assembly if they're co-patroning bills that they didn't read, or they don't know the number. If you have if any of these delegates didn't say, what exactly is 5% of anything? It's not like it said 50, it said 5%. That's not a lot, because our kids are not getting $1 million each. Then you don't belong there. And it's really funny because McGuire and I are buddies. But when I walked into the Capitol on Friday, walking out with Glenn Davis, acting like he didn't know me, guys, people are telling, and it's a horrible place, and I've had to take a couple of days off because my soul, I'm an empath, and so I absorb all of that, and I was literally like physically ill after last week, but it's late. Okay. But before 8 a.m. in the morning, I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to understand what is what, and this is horrible. And if this goes through, congratulations. They're still going to get paid for a school system. Your tax dollars are still going to go towards a system that's failing children, that your children that you're going to be able to protect with $200, they're still going to have to interact with these people with money that you paid for. So I can't say it enough. And I do hope that there's another opportunity to speak, since I don't know why the Senate does it opposite in the House. Or maybe they just did it for this one, because last year I spoke on 6 bills and they were all at night. So I don't know what I missed here. Maybe I was too involved in other things. But please, it is, I'll tell you guys one more time. So delegate marches is, okay, so this one is House Bill HB1508. You can go to lis.virginia.gov is where do I pull all my legislation. There's Legiscan is too hard for me to read. It's really great when you use the highlight option when they're doing amendments. It'll tell you what they're adding and what they're changing, especially as the process goes on and they go back and pander and they come back and say, okay, well, we'll delete this, we'll add this, is that you can actually see what they took out or what they added in. By the time it gets to the process where it's voted in and then the governor adopts it, it wasn't even having half the time what the original intent of the bill was. We saw it happen with sexually explicit material when they pandered and said, okay, we'll let you add the book part in. Made the law useless. And then, let's see, delegate marches, which everybody should be supporting, is 1396. And I will see what I can find out. It doesn't say it's been killed. It says it was. It's going to the early. Why is this going? My question would be, it got referred to early childhood innovation, which is Coyner. And let me see. This is about to make me even more mad, y'all. Okay, this is making me even more mad. Why did this bill go to K-12 and delegate marches got sent to pre-K? I can tell you why. It's got Carrie Coyner on it, running that. I can tell you right now. So it got referred to the Committee on Education. Guess who runs that? Davis. I'm like, this is how my brain works. This is what happens. Davis, Aboli, LaRock, McGuire. These are the members of education. Batten, Wampler, Freitas, Greenlaw, Durant. All the people that sponsored Davis and SEARS bill. I'm about to lose it. All the people that were co-sponsors that are on the House Education Committee. Here, I'll pull this up. So looking at this, this is the House Education Committee. Durant, Greenlaw. I mean, it's got some wackadoos in there, but look at the chair, the man who wrote it. And so, look, it was referred to the Committee on Education, assigned to education. Wait a minute. Okay, it's Marie March. Look, they assigned that from the Committee on Education sent hers to early childhood innovation. Why? It's got Coyner. It's got Cherry. Okay? Glenn Davis is on it. Okay? Big problem. But then you go, real quick, and then I'm going. You go to Glenn Davis's, and it went to Committee on Education, straight to Education K-12. McGuire, Durant. Do you see the problem? Why would this get sent, like, sorry, I'm pissed now. And I'm going to call Marie March right now and find out what the hell's going on. Why? Why would Glenn Davis? Because I can tell you why. Why did it get sent to early education? To kill it. To kill it, period. So his bill, the competitor for it, that is Real School Choice, he sent it out of his into Coyner's, where they'll kill it, and it won't even make it back. That's what's going to happen. I'm calling her right now. I gotta go. That just lit my fire. But that's how you have to read this stuff, guys. Why did this get sent to early education? Doesn't say anything about early education. I'm so lit up right now. But anyway, that's what's going on in Virginia right now. Welcome to the shit show, as I say. It never